Am I good? My light okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Your light was good behind you. Actually, you had that little backlit. You were backlit.
Okay.
You ain't gonna look no better, man. Let's go with it, okay?
Hey everybody, how you doing? My name is Brad Sanders.
Ready. Ha ha, very funny, motherfucker. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Hey everybody, welcome to the new podcast, This Comedy Life. The podcast about anything, not everything, but anything related to stand-up comedy. Comedians just kicking the game around. I'm your host, Brad Sanders, and our guests for this joint is Brandon BB Nice Bowlin.
There you go. All right.
And my man, Buddy Lewis.
Yes.
B. Lewis,
I'm here.
what's going on?
What's up, man?
Well, man, what are you guys doing lately? I mean, where you just come from, buddy?
And I'm waiting actually in front of the Ha Ha Cafe. I got to pick up this document from Terry so we can do the Q's and Friends show later on next month. So yeah, I'm doing things, Brad.
I know you always be doing things, B. Lewis. That's what I like about you. And my man, Brandon Bowlin, what's up with you, bro?
What's that, man? Well, I got my own live stream called Nightus, and I do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And it's comedy. It's more like a clip show. We go over like the news and whatnot. But today I was shooting footage down in Alvera Street to show how it's coming back because ICE has put a damper on. Alvera Street is like one of the first streets that was in Los Angeles, built by Blacks, Latinos, Spaniards, and Indians. No Trumps involved in that shit. It was all black. It was all people of color. Right. And also at 4 a.m., I'm going to be on WOL with Carl Nelson. I do that
my man.
twice a month. So we're going to do that and talk about something that's going on in LA and all the BS. Can I curse here?
I think you've already done that.
Oh, all the
no.
That Afro Latin man, the Latinos, man, will dance. They dance. They're going to be dancing like and pulling out, things to defend themselves with, but they're going to be dancing. Somebody could be playing a tuba and then holding a 6-shooter in another hand because it's so funny. You go to there's a gazebo at the end of this street.
Yeah, at Alvera Street.
Yeah. And the old, like the senior citizen Latinos,
right.
Like
they down there playing chess and talking.
They put together, they got these dance clubs, man.
Yeah.
And they sit there and they dance. There's a DJ swinging, but he's playing their music, Things get heated. Orthopedic canes get risen. Folks get to standing up. There's some name calling, from 1957. There's some
how do they segue from dancing and joviality into name calling and cane wailing? What's up with that? What picked that off?
The pressure on them is not even 2 blocks away is one of the largest federal detention centers in the country. And I've been down, I've protested down there many times. And it's one of the main places they go. They stop the freeway and all that. And they can see it's a monument to their vulnerability. Imagine when you go somewhere, there's a monument to where they snatch slaves, not the stuff that we use to show our fortitude, but shit that they use to show how they grab people and kidnap them. And so, oh, wait. There's places called New York, New Jersey, Boston. Yes, those places exist. But you know what I'm saying? That's what they're looking at. And so they're between a rock and a hard place. And there's a lot of brothers that are down from. I see some brothers that like to say FAFO and all that other stuff. But we know all this crap. I know you guys have heard it when people say it could happen here, and you're like, it started here. It could happen. Yeah. What are you talking? Like, where are you been?
This is the prototype. Hitler got his game from here.
Exactly. Okay. So they're living under certain kind of pressures, man. So they do what we do, and they find different ways to try to dispel it, other than going home and being mad at each other.
Well, as a comedian, how do you deal with it?
As a comic?
Yeah.
Well, both of you have seen me thrown off the stage in all the shows because I was talking shit.
Magic moments in comedy right there.
Yeah, y'all laughing at me.
Die for the joke. This guy right here.
So I guess the answer to that is I didn't deal with it too well. I don't know that. Y'all saw me snap.
I get on Instagram and be commenting on people's pages.
Is that what you do?
Oh, bro, I'm the cuss out king on. I'm the coon revealer on in Instagram. I'm the Sambo sellout caller. I will. You Sambo, shut up.
Yeah.
You go get 'em.
I'm all in their DMs, calling them all kind of Sambos and Trip Coons and.
Dig that.
Hey, I get up every morning. I find somebody that's tricking off, and I get in there and I get in that comic section, talk about them, they mama, everybody.
We used to be able to get on stage and it wouldn't just be a release. A lot of people say that psychologically, I guess, but practicing our craft, and we would be released for other people because we would say things a lot of other people couldn't say on their jobs. And that's the one thing about going to rooms. LA had rooms.
And for those that don't know, Wilshire was sort of the dividing line back in the day. And we're not talking about the 50s and 60s. We're talking about almost into the 80s. Yeah. where the redlining was real. They didn't sell houses to black folks. And I think, Jim Brown was one of the first people that lived in the Hollywood Hills. They finally sold a black person a house in the hills. We had comedy rooms that were for us, by us, below Wilshire. I remember when I started doing the High Cafe in the Valley, me and Kim Whitley started a room over in the Valley. That was one of the first kind of, not comedy nights, but it was one of the first urban sort of comedy venues in the Valley. So, and we're talking 1994, 95, I started that room. And then right after that, we just took the model that sort of Michael Williams had done down and Rico and them had done at Mavericks Flat, and Brandon did the dark room. We all had a room, man. We tried to expand that across the landscape in LA, and that's what we did. We were one of the first rooms out here that had urban comedy in the Valley. Yeah.
Robin Harris was the king of the room in Leimert Park.
Yeah,
Regency West
Comedy Act Theater. That's correct. And Jay did the Mavericks Flat, and then Ronaldo Ray had Marvel's Memory Lane. There were a few comics that had spots where you could go, and then there was Birdland, which was down in Long Beach. There were a few spots, man, where you could go, but they were south. You didn't have many rooms Midtown or the Valley, Hollywood, that were urban in nature. At all.
Before you came to LA, Robin Harris had a joint at the Ruby Yacht Club.
Right.
He had a bowling alley that you could work on Saturday afternoon doing jokes. The Parisian room, Mr. Woodley's, the Five Torches.
Let's see, what was that? The Five Torches, and I remember there was the Apollo West. He had a night, and then Mr. Wiz had a room. Miss Wiz or Miss Wiz? Miss Wiz, there was a Red Onion on Wilshire. There were a whole bunch of places where you could go work back in the day. Yeah, and Robin was the source, host at all of those spots, man. And we used to try to ride Robin's coattail to have him put us on.
The transition was a trip because in the 70s, comics, and this is when Ronaldo Ray, when he was coming up, and a brother who passed away as well. They would do, this is when Brad, when you actually got out here, they were doing opening acts, and they were allowed to bring in open acts. So most of them they were in jazz joints or music joints, and they wouldn't give them the whole room. They'd say, okay, you got 30 minutes. And then sometimes they'd bring an extra cat in, to do stuff. And Brad came in at a time when the Comedy Store was it. There was like only 3 other ones. And the Comedy Store was it. And then by the time Buddy and you and I came up, when I say above Wilshire, it almost became a state of mind, above Wilshire and below Wilshire, because there was there was 3 chains that it all started as like single rooms. This is the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, and the Improv. The Improv that it moved out. But most of the new black, I want to say new jack, black comedy could not get up in those rooms.
No,
we could not. So this is what Buddy is talking about, is what you guys just mentioned was the explosion of hosting. This is something that black folks had always done. And it was the host stuff. And Robin, may he rest, Robin became famous for being the host, and anybody else was secondary.
Yeah.
And if you didn't understand that, it's the same thing with Jay. You needed to understand that was thing.
Because one of the first nights that we could really work that was like for us was really the Townhouse. The Townhouse, Hope and Michael Collier and them, they made the room more comedy friendly. And the fact that they booked the room, you could go in there and get a spot. It wasn't like Michael tried to do that, but it was tough, man, because Robin, you could go in there if the room started at 8 o'clock, you could get there at 9:15. They're like, how many people going up? One. Robin is just putting somebody up.
And he got 7 minutes.
Yeah, and you got 7 minutes because Robin was going to go back up after you did your 7 minutes, so you got booed off, whichever was.
Oh, man.
And the Townhouse,
whichever happened first.
The funny thing about the Townhouse is that it started out first pointing at the banister. And you
Right.
can see this, so you can see, people don't know, it's a dinner room. They had a banquet room in the back. And there was a platform. There was a platform, a little small little area where I guess you got weddings or whatever the hell. You could seat about 22 chairs. Well, that's what it had the comics at first. And then I think it was your boy got in there. There was a shootout. There was a bullet. There was a bullet hole in one of the barrels. So they all of a sudden they turned the room around. So maybe we should go this way.
Yeah, maybe we go this way so we can see who's coming in.
Yeah.
You see the fireplace? That's funny as hell. And it was so funny. You're right, because it got so popular. These rooms got so packed that they made comics stand up against the wall outside. They wanted to sell the seats. So we're sitting there watching each other. Who's going to go on? Who's going to go up? And it was cool. Hope was a great host. So the other brother, I forget his name right now. Juan Dexter, man. Funny as hell. They were part of the same spirit, the entrepreneurial spirit. All of us were trying to connect to all this stuff, to try to get up, to try to get on and try to do these things. And I'm not saying it's gone. I think it's even more so now with the next generation. It's just that time has passed. Just like, buddy, when we got here, the Boulevard Cafe was on its way out, but then we were still trying to do comedy there, or the Crenshaw Cafe, excuse me. And we were still trying to do comedy there, and it just was on the ropes. So Martin didn't outlast us.
When we came out here, I came out here in 76. Well, you couldn't really get a spot at the Comedy Store.
Right.
Say that again. You came out here. Say that again.
I came to L.A.
in 70 what?
Six.
Wow.
76.
I'm giving. Damn. I'm giving you the Kevin Hart, Don Cheadle. Damn.
Yeah.
Brad came off the plane locking.
Well, let me
I'm messing with you, Brad. Brad, you were on a train because planes didn't. No.
Okay. I'll give you something to laugh at. This is the maiden voyage of this Comedy Life podcast on my birthday. Because this is my birthday, I went on stage for the first time as a comedian in Chicago, Illinois, on the west side of Chicago, July the 6th, 1969.
Damn.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah.
1 year old. What did they bring you up to? Sweet Georgia Brown? Did they bring you up to Sweet Georgia Brown?
No.
Hey, don't laugh, Brandon. Sweet Georgia Brown, that was a club in Chicago, so don't laugh. He's probably,
you're right.
That was the actual name of a club in Chicago.
Yeah, but they brought me on the Tramp. No, Tramp. I was opening for my cousin Walter Gales Codell. He was one of the James Brown's aficionados, and he had a scunch light that made him look like he was dancing 90 miles a minute. And he would do that, and I was the MC. I was the opening act of that club, and that's why I chose this day to do our first This Comedy Life podcast.
I love the inaugural. I love being on the inaugural show.
Oh, you on the inaugural one, man. You on the maiden voyage right up in here. Okay. There were nightclubs, like Brandon mentioned earlier. There were nightclubs, and you would go on the last ask the guy to let you get up on the stage, and you go up there and you bomb or whatever you're gonna do. But I mean, one of the clubs I went on, they had live sex acts on Wednesday night.
Okay, well that's it. You do a comedy, you do a joke, and then
I got some jokes for that. Hey, look at him. Look at that guy. Hey, hold on. Wait a minute.
Is that a dick in my drink?
Somebody throw a towel, please. Y'all got a towel? Is there a mop?
Oh my God. Hey, Brad, but you know what's so funny? I can't tell you, but I'm close to that because when I started doing comedy, I actually started in DC. There was a room called the Ibex, right? And the way you got on in DC at the time was you would host the strip shows, like, and it was a male strip show review. So you would go on and bring up the strippers and all that kind of shit, right? And the chicks would sometimes ask you to strip. So hey, take it off, and you be like, you're the host of the comedy show, stripping.
What's a club like that in LA? It was called Blueberry Hill.
Yeah.
And Wayne Jackson, the main attraction, was the owner of it. And he would bring comics in for them strippers. And them, look, I don't want to hear no damn joke. Show me what you're proud of. Whip it out. You know, and they were just, man, it was a riot. I got pulled out of one of them clubs. And I say pulled, one of the ladies took me back to her place.
She took you? She picked you up and took you back?
I didn't have a car.
That was your ride home.
Remember, he came out here on the Pony Express. So
that was his ride home in many ways. Look, I got the second wave of that. There was a club called Tigers on Washington.
Yeah, we used to do that.
So by the time what you were talking about, it had evolved to where these were male strippers. They would bring us up as their opening act. And we would get paid. Like we got money.
We got paid.
The young ladies tore my jacket. Like you just said, buddy. He said, we don't care. I don't know jokes. You take something off, rip. And I started comedy. I had a polyester jacket.
Oh, man.
And I was like, that's it. I'm finished.
One night,
my apparel is over.
Listen, one night, they had a magician that was the opening act for the strippers. They had one guy that came up there and did Tina Turner, big old buff black dude, and wasn't nobody going to talk to him about
tell him not to do it.
A female impersonator. And they left him alone. But they had a magician. He was up there, and the magician was pulling rats out.
He made all the women disappear after that bullshit.
He was pulling rats out in the street, and he tried to do some kind of thing. And one of the rats caught fire. Poof, you know? Yeah, that's this comedy life, bro.
Oh my God! Yeah, there was a magician, man. One time, man, there was a magician. His name was Mike. I think it was Mike Douglas. He was a good musician one time, man. But one time he came back up there, and I remember Joe Torre was kind of razzing him a little bit because I don't know what happened. Because he would pull mice and pigeons and shit out his jacket by sleight of hand, man. Man, one time we came back there, we were like, okay, Mike, I don't know what happened, but you smell like pigeon, cat, and mouse shit. He had the whole green room smelling like animal ass. I was like, you smell like a litter box, dude. We were dying laughing, and Joe was giving him.
What'd you say?
He's like, you need to pull up. Those smell things in the stick up. You need a stick up in your magic act. You need to.
Buddy, do you know the first time I met you as a comic? Do you remember that? Buddy used to have a cable comedy show on.
Oh God, I did a several.
And this was the time, Brad, when people used to put bootleg porn on cable shows.
Bootleg porn.
And Buddy had
like amateur.
It wasn't really porn. It was like, man, they show right up until it's really going down, or they black out and you just see faces.
Between these shows, Buddy had a comedy show.
Right.
What was it called? People are funny or funny people?
Funny people. I don't remember what that, man. You gotta remember that was, Brad. That was almost 30 years ago, bro. I don't remember, man. But you know what? That was access cable.
It was
so and this was the beginning. This was the beginning of streaming and stuff because we would shoot these shows, and it was the craziest thing, man. Because you could get studios for free, damn near. Like the cable stations, like the
cable access, it was free.
Yeah, cable access, and you could go to like some of the original cable companies would allow you to shoot in their studio, so you could do all kinds of stuff. Yeah. And they would have everything from talk shows to burlesque shows. It would be pet adoptions, preachers. It would be all kind of stuff. We used to do comedy, and there was the Nikki, Miss Nikki was the one that dare you to laugh. We used to do that like every week. Rest in peace, Gerald Littleton used to host those shows. We were there.
I went down there. So I think it was Daryl that hooked me up and brought me and said, look, man, I want you to do this comedy, blah, blah. Buddy was hosting that night. You were hosting that night. And so they had the crew that they had on there was some people who were doing it and other people who were learning. Right. And I'm sitting there watching while they were recording a comic on ahead of me, and the cameraman had been drinking.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because I grew up in a household of liquor, and I smelled it, and the camera kept drifting.
Hey, no, he doing this. This how it was like.
Right, the camera kept drifting, and I was like,
"Oh, you see this, man? You telling Joe, yeah, you can see when he was laughing and the camera was doing this."
So I got mad. I said, "This is bullshit," and so I went on stage. This is the funniest shit in the world. I went on stage, and I talked shit about Buddy. I don't know what I said about you, but I thought I was funny. But when you're talking shit, when you first start doing shows. I started in college. Like I started with Chris Spencer. Oh, and then, that's like your crew. This was like big time because we were on something, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I was like, so you're thinking more professional, but it's still talking shit. So I said something I thought was funny. I did a little joke. I thought it's probably all that shit is probably racist. Whatever I said, I got off stage and then Buddy came back on. I don't give a fuck how much this motherfucker was shimming and shaking before. Buddy did like 30 minutes talking about me, and it was some of the funniest shit. I don't think you've been that funny yet. I don't think you've reached that shit.
Wow.
Now think about I had stopped playing ball. Like I was bigger. Now I've never been like ball. This motherfucker said you meet Brandon's belly before you meet him. And there were 6 people in there. All 6 of them motherfuckers laughing like a motherfucker. And I said, I got to find out who this guy is. So the next time I see him, I'm gonna have
you can attack me like you did other comics doing.
No. Listen, now that is not something we talk about. You ain't heard me ever. It's so funny. No, I don't talk about them days, man. You crazy?
Well, listen. You know how you say you have an executive in chief? Brandon was the assaulter in chief.
Okay.
Well, that is man, that's hysterical. I mean, one night on at Barnes Memory Lane, and I was doing a set. It was nice, man. I was having fun and everything, and back in those days we wore suits. But I'm on the stage, and these brothers, it was 4 of them, they were sitting 4 deep at a table down front when the whole club was down front, the little show lounge. And they all had on hats, shirts and ties, and overcoats, and it's 90 degrees outside. Oh, no. So I'm like,
what's the Hollering brothers?
I said, well, what's the occasion? The St. Valentine's Day Massacre? Oh. And they didn't laugh. So I went on and talked about them a few minutes, and I got off them and went on about my business. Robin Harris comes up to me after the show and said, hey, man, let me talk to you. Took me in the back of the club and said, look, man, you might want to apologize to them cats. I said, man, I'll forget all that, man. I'm doing jokes, man, blah, blah, blah. He said, no. You might want to apologize to them. And then I thought for a minute, I said, wait a minute, this is Robin Harris telling me this. This is Robin, put the light on that motherfucker Harris. And talk about Tommy Hitman Hearns and said, you in my ring now, sit your ass down.
Right. Sure did.
This is Robin Harris. When the police come in the room, everybody put your dope up. The police here, officers of the goddamn law, So this man is telling me to apologize for whacking on somebody. So I went over there. He said, okay, that's the chief over there. Now the chief was Mr. Brown. He had a helmet on. I'm not a helmet, but a fez, like the Shriners. He having his little his champagne up. I mean, he was a cat at the club. When he hit the door and his people come in, they set him off real good. So I went over there and said hello. Robin introduced me and then walked away. And I said, well, I just thought I'd come over. I meant no disrespect. I turned straight, bitch. I'm Mr. Brown. I sound like buckwheat. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. I didn't mean
Yeah, I just want to say I lost my mind back in there on stage.
I wasn't that. I didn't have that much bass in my voice. My voice was light. He said, "Well, Brad, I'm really sorry. I'm glad, rather. I'm really glad that you came over here and spoke to us. Because, see, we love all entertainers. The best thing for you to do when you see one of us come in the room is say hello, come over and have a glass of champagne with us, and go and do your little act." And I said, "Oh, okay, Mr. Brown." We became good acquaintances after that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because those 4 guys, one of them was his son, and these was Muslim gangsters, you know. Like Robin told Myra one time, "Get away from the niggas. They put people in the trunk for a living."
Hey, bro, but I was at the Comedy Act Theater. I've seen comics that didn't apologize, and it didn't go well for them.
This was not memory lane. This was long before the Comedy Act. Remember, remember I came out to LA on the buckboard. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You and the outlaw Josie Wales.
Hey, okay, you see this picture right here in the background?
Burt Williams.
That's Burt Williams. That's who I came out to LA with.
Oh, dead.
Now, buddy, you said you saw some comics there's some legendary stories. And if you look at some of the stuff online, like somebody else's stream, a couple comics have gone on there and they pontificate and they're kind of disremembering history. Because it's funny thing about comics, you know, we're thin skinned and we always want to come off tough. You know, we never want to be clown. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, I'm naming names. You know what? I don't care anymore. I'm 60 years old. I'm naming names.
I tell you, you will never ever hear me act like I'm the tough guy. I wasn't born and raised in the streets in poverty. I ain't coming like that. No, I have been hit in the head with a sink in a goddamn alley, in an alley fight. So I ain't gonna be the one trying to tell you, but I'm the toughest guy in the world. But I do remember some cats dealing with that Muslim situation, like you just said. I know there was one night where. Go ahead.
No. Go.
I'm like, no, you don't want to mess with them people.
Yeah, I mean, your boy, what's his name? He was just out at Jay's spot. He actually
Marvin, TK, which one?
No,
I can keep going.
Mad Marv, that was a
Mad Marv.
He was at the Townhouse, and Farrakhan's son, one of his sons, I guess, came in with some.
He wasn't at the Townhouse. He was at the Comedy Act Theater.
And he said, I will throw a pork
chop and spit the juice in your face.
Not his face, his Farrakhan.
Spit it in your daddy's face.
And Louis Dix got caught up one time because I think
Louis Dix.
Yeah, that's when Dr. Khalid Muhammad was still alive.
Yes,
and he was dating what's her name?
Phyllis Stickney.
That's right.
I was there that night.
So what happened?
There that night.
So what happened?
Phyllis Stickney had just finished her act, got off stage. She was funny. TK comes on, and he's gonna use her apparel and everything she said as comedy fodder for his act now. And, first of all, I mean, like one of the lines was something like, "Well, bitch, if you didn't have that ancient mama hat to wrap around your head, maybe you get a man." Blah, blah, blah. So he's going off of it. Bitch, let me tell you something else. He's bitch this, bitch that. Bruh. Do you remember in the movie Malcolm X when the Muslims all stood up and they were there and Malcolm X did like this and they were all in a line?
Right.
Listen, TK walked off stage at the Comedy Act and they all stood up. And as he passed two of them, they got behind him. Bro, it was like he was walking down the aisle at a church. And the people on the ends, as soon as he walked by, got up and followed him out like this. They were like this. Yeah, and TK was looking around like, wait a minute. What is this? Bro.
Wait, hold on. The part you didn't put in there is that Phyllis Stickney happened to be dating
Khalid Muhammad at the time.
And Khalid Muhammad was being seen as the second person, the next riser.
Yeah, he was Farrakhan's like man out here in LA. Man, they walked TK out to that parking lot. And you talk about all the bass leaving your voice. and Phyllis Stickney was like, and it was very calm. Look at my brother. I think the material that you chose to proceed down was inappropriately presented toward this female and this sister. I think you need to apologize. They brought her out there and TK'd him. What I want to know, I think you need to start over. What I like to say
Mr. I'm sorry to meet you, Mr. Khalid. Can I speak to you?
Excuse me, brothers of the bean pot sellers. Let me I think I still have a little bit too much bass in my voice when I'm talking to you.
I think I got a run in my stocking. Wait, just they're a little snug. They're a little snug.
Damn.
Bro, they did the same thing to Marv. Come on, we need to go out here and talk to you. Yeah, we had to have a little chat.
Well, see, Robin saved me because he took me to the head man and he put a check on them 4 guys that was at the table.
Right.
That's why I didn't get walked up out there.
Yeah, because hey, bro, there have been some comedy check-ins. We need to check your attitude, my brother. And it happened at the Comedy Act a lot. Because you get down there and everybody want to be Robin Harris and you want to get out there and talk and be crazy with the Muslims. And they're like, dog, we like to laugh, but we don't like laughing at us. We don't like people laughing at us. So
you're really too crazy about you laughing at other people if you don't.
Yeah, but come on out here and let us have a little talk with you.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you something, man. Have you ever bombed on stage?
What time is it? What time is it?
How many? Listen, bro. Man, how long is this show?
Man.
Dog.
Yep.
The first good one for me out here, I got 2. Out here, one of the times I'm bombing at the Comedy Act, there used to be guys, because comics sometimes would work the light. Right?
Oh, no.
So Robin would bring you up and Robin would leave or whatever. Sometimes you'd be the last comic going up and it was up to you to carry the show or whatever.
Yep.
Bruh, I go up here, Robin's baby's kids killed, just doing his, man, I get up there with I'm a Howard University. Bro, this the look you're getting.
Not the breath of exasperation.
Bro, listen. They cut first. They cut the light off, so I'm gonna try to keep going. I don't need no light. I'm good enough to do this by myself. Then you hear that? Let me tell you something. Y'all don't cut the mic off. Bro, this Negro comes up and decides, it's okay. I can still tell my jokes. I'm loud enough to, and dog, he comes up because I got the mic in my hand. He yanks the cord out of the wall. The mic cord out of the wall, dog. I'm like, oh damn.
How do you recover from that?
You don't. You just walk out.
How long did it take you to get back up after that?
Immediately.
Okay. Well,
I'm stubborn that way. And then I did a little show in Chicago. My godmother had this poetry reading. My God. So
jokes and poetry.
Poetry and spoken word. So they're like, she's like, yeah, I'm gonna put my godson up. He's gonna do some stuff to. Bruh, I don't know if you ever know. Spoken word people are not the most like.
Contemplative.
Bruh. It's Chicago spoken word. I'm talking that they all on the look here, my brother. They on the ubiquity / brother, peace to the world. Listen, your vibe is not correct, brother. What I tell you, dog, I can hear that little symbol,
Get there,
bro, they doing that for me to make me quit. Yeah, they stop, Negro. Hey, you listen, talking, the dude talking, stop. My godmother told my mother, it's like, Barbara, you need to tell him that maybe he should go get his master's. Because this
Oh my
Maybe
God.
he go get his
Post
mask.
grad.
But this comedy thing is, baby, I just don't see it. Oh my God. But I have to give my godmother a prop. Before she died, like a year or two before she died, she saw me on Comic View and Def Jam, and I was in some movie or something. And she was like, oh my God. And I think she was like, I'm so sorry I said what I said. That I mean
Your mouth,
yeah, you know, she said, I hope she felt like she was making amends for almost breaking my spirit or throwing down on my dream. I said, you know what? And I told her, I said, you were only fuel for my fire, but I appreciate you, because I wasn't gonna let her and them spoken word people destroy my vibe, man. Because bruh, Brandon, you knew it was bad when you walked in the room and they got the zebra print drums on stage.
Yeah.
You know, they got the leopards, they got the spears and the
Now, see, for people who don't know though, Buddy used to talk shit. He talks shit about anybody.
Oh.
And he talks shit the way we used to call it bagging, but he talks shit in a way where we were all in the crossroads of us trying to get better. So we still had terms like good hair and bad hair. We were still doing your mama so black jokes.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. So
all the way back.
Started. So if you can imagine, Buddy, to all the queens to get up here and live, to have what I have and say what I say, to do what I do, I need blackness inside me, running through my veins, running through my life, running through my mind. And Buddy comes up there. Well, what up with this nappy hair though?
You should wrap that up. You smell like coconuts, herbs, and weed. Why it smell like weed in here? That's my wig.
Right.
Oh. Well, you need to wash that scarf, lady.
I do a whole set on poetry. How am I? I do a whole set on that shit. And Buddy ain't lying. Like, one of the good things about working out is that it forces you, especially in Los Angeles, because you come in contact with all kinds of comics, and it forces you to
from
be
all
able
over the world
to make your comedy, not you have to change it, but bend and understand. You also understand your audience too. These are things, and people don't believe this when you tell them it takes years to learn how to do this, because first you have to find out what it is that you're doing. It's okay to be funny, but you have to find out what you're doing. Then you have to find out what the tools are, right? So you find out what you're doing, then you have to find out how you're funny. And then you have to work that out. And those things, it doesn't come that easy, because when moments come, I had this routine about this rooster in my neighborhood.
Y'all remember that?
Right. And it's the pit bull, and at the end they fighting. And I did the whole thing, man. I ain't lying. I'm 2 minutes of like, and I have the rooster whoop the pit bull's ass. I'm dancing on stage, peck, 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 peck. And it was a big crowd. I think it was like 300. I'm doing peck, peck, peck. And I finished, and nobody thought that was funny. And I'm sitting out of breath, and I'm hearing crickets, and now I gotta stand up. And I gotta find a way to stand up. All I can say is that, well, that's a check well earned.
You're in the whippoorwills in the back.
They're all saying the same thing. Quit.
Man, I bombed so bad one night. The hecklers was raising their hands.
Can I go?
Yeah, I turned into Phil Donahue. Okay, the lady in the back, and then the gentleman out front. Okay. You suck. Thank you very much. I love you too. All right.
Who else? Hey, we've all had our Bill Burr in Philly moments.
If any comedian says never bomb, you a damn lie.
I'm telling you, no, they're not. You know what? The other alternative to that, Brad, is I used to say this. They either one or two things. They either haven't been doing it long enough,
right,
or you're lying. Because there's no way you've every show has hit. I remember one time I did a show, man. I was doing the show here in LA. This was probably 10 years ago, man, 10 years ago. And I had this joke about little people. And I was saying, how do you make love to a little person? You got to stand up on some bricks and they behind you saying all kind of Wizard of Oz midget shit. Yeah, and it don't sound sexy. With them little midget fingers. Yeah, who represents the lollipop gift, bitch? You know what I'm saying? Nobody's laughing, dog. This is my killer bit. I'm killing until I realized we're at a Christmas event. It's a Christmas thing. And they're like 4 little people that are dressed as elves.
Oh my God.
As elves. They just went to work. You're talking. They're trying to feed their kids.
They're just trying to make a living.
I tell you, sometimes it can put you, because of what we do, it's in different stages. Like I used to warm shows up. I used to warm
we do warm up.
Yeah,
great warm up. I never saw you do warm up, Brandon. I'm sure you were great, but Buddy was good. Buddy was good. He had all kind of gimmicks.
Yeah, everybody was better than I was. And so there was one, because I had the temperament for it, but I would, so one night they had this thing called the Black, it was the HBCU Jeopardy. It was like HBCU Jeopardy show. I don't know if you remember that. They would come in town. They do it every year. So I was warming it up, man. I did 6 hours. They did
of
3
taping.
shows.
Yeah.
3 shows, man. I did 6 hours. They did 3 shows. Yeah, because that was the gig. That was the gig. They shot this in Paramount. And it was like, okay. So the audience was cool. I did every joke I ever knew. And they would do a show and they'd bring out another school, another 2 schools, and another 2 schools, another 2 schools. And it was cool. And then we went to lunch. And then the audience that I had been talking to they went backstage and became the contestants, and the people that I had been joking in front of now became the audience. 6 more hours, and I didn't have it. I was juggling cats. What kind of shoes are you wearing? Who has Nikes? Who's wearing Nikes? Does anybody have teeth?
Yeah, raise up your peace sign. Yeah.
Hey, Brandon. So let me tell you. So do you remember a few years ago, they had the Celebration of Moms on BET. There was a show called Celebrations of Moms. They would have famous celebrities bring their moms on, and they would talk about, hey, this is my mom. They would do like this thing where it was always on Mother's Day. Okay. So I'm doing warm up. Bruh. In the audience is Gabrielle Union, Tiana Taylor, I think was one of the things I remember, and Puffy.
Was he oily?
This is pre-oil.
Pre-oil.
He just used Vaseline at that time.
There was one more. It was somebody else. It was like 4 moms. Bruh. When I say every flaw that could go wrong with the equipment and the staging, and because they would bring food out, they would cook, there was like a dinner would be served, and and people would talk about, the celebrities would come up and say a little word about their mom, and they had these video footages and all this, bruh. Every technical thing you could go wrong went wrong. So like they're sending me out there like, all right, man, I need you to go back out there. I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to get the band. I'm like, help me out, man. Listen, let's play with the band. The band's like, nah, man, to do this shit on your own, bro. I'm like, wait a minute. Dog, when I tell you listen, I'm struggling. I mean, I'm talking about everything from like, it goes black. They lost power. It's just, I'm up there like, yeah, let me take, what the hell? Who turned the lights off? Bruh. To this very day, I swear to God, and I'll say this till I'm blue of it. That's the reason Jesse Collins is like, nah, I ain't really messing with Buddy no more. No, I remember the celebrations of moms. Jesse Collins. I told Jesse Collins, listen, they told me one time I was about to, this is how bad it got. I was about to go back out because they had a break. You know, and you know, they say when you get the breaks, go out there. Just know to go out there during the breaks. I'm walking out there, they go, no, well, buddy, you don't, no, stop. Just, we're going to let the band play. It got so bad. I was like, man, I am getting paid, right?
Damn.
When you start asking about your check,
Look here.
Y'all sure y'all got my paperwork?
I got fired by somebody's mama.
Nah.
It used to be a show called Sister Sister.
I remember Sister. I did
Right.
warm up over there too.
A year before I acted on it, their mother fired me from warming it up.
Oh, okay.
But I went back on and acted on it. But it's kind of funny because the warm up is one of the hardest jobs. It's a great job to have, man. But it's one of, and if you become really good at it, it actually can impede your stand up because they're two separate languages.
There's nothing like stand up but stand up.
Yeah, yeah, and I give all the credit to J. Anthony Brown because he was absolutely brilliant at both. And that's it's very, very difficult.
Hey, shout out to Lewis Dix, Alex Thomas, Speedy, John Reed, James Stevens III, man, some of the greatest warm-up people I've ever seen do it, man. And bro, it's a tough gig. And because here's the thing about it too. It's a tough gig because a lot of times when if you're very good at warm-up, they see you. It's a job that an executive producer doesn't have to think about filling a spot to do if you're good at it. So they're like, I don't want the warm-up guy to come down here on the floor and be acting in the show. Even though you're so funny, you could be great. They'll be like, nah, I want you up there doing it because if I can make sure that audience is straight, that's something I don't have to think about, worry about, whatever. I want to keep hiring a warm-up dude. But it's like working on a cruise ship. Once you get good at it, everybody wants you to do it, and they don't see you doing anything else.
Yeah. But you can make money.
You make a ton of money.
Yeah, the guy Ray Combs.
Ray Combs used to. Yeah, he was a beast.
He ended up being the top warm up of all time.
Him and the Hypnotist.
Yeah.
Ray Combs. Yeah, he had a club in Dayton, Ohio. Man, he had me come down there and headline that joint, and he was brilliant at that. Good guy.
Yeah, he was the guy. He ended up taking over. He was the host of Family Feud.
Right.
Before Steve Harvey, he took over after what's his name?
Yeah, but
Richard Dawson. He took over after Richard Dawson. Yeah.
And then Ray Combs, he unalived himself later on. They said he had different problems. A part of it was starting the club and me having been in that position. I can tell you, he went bankrupt. Because there's a lot of people don't understand. Now it's different. I'm not gonna say it's easier because I don't believe that. It's just shifted. Most of the promotion, something that Black comics have always done very well by ourselves. Most of the promotion is on all comics now. You can't even get a spot in a room unless you have this many followers or this many people.
Right.
You know,
right.
Is
that like that bringer thing? Bringer sets?
It used to be, but I think what Brandon is saying is more they want to believe that your Instagram, whatever social media following is going to manifest people buying tickets. Yeah. And that's not always what it is, but sometimes it is. It's not about your talent anymore because some of these, no disrespect to the internet comics and the social media comics that are trying to get into stand-up, but that's sometimes after they've created this following. And it's a little different doing, staged bits, and Instagram stuff and doing stand-up. They're just two different muscles you got to exercise.
But what I would say is that the audience, they've been trained to listen differently, especially the younger ones. And I only say this is because both of you, you guys helped me out back in the day when I was trying to convince my management that we were going to be here. I was trying to, this is so funny because I know Buddy's going to remember this too. I used to do I used to load up movies, bootleg movies to phones back in the old days.
Yeah.
Put food on the table. I did.
And I never did that. I never bought any of his bootleg stuff. I knew he was doing it.
I did. I was bootleg buddy.
I tried to show Buddy this book, but I used to do all kinds. I did whatever movies that I could, people. I didn't promote the business myself. I had a partner, but every now and then, if the month didn't act up, I would bring in other cats. And I remember showing Buddy one time. There was a guy who was a Q, and he would just make these streams of adult films. And I was like, "Go ahead, Buddy, go ahead, buy this." He's a Q. Buddy's like, "What the fuck you got on your phone?" I'm sorry, you the F word. And I said, "But it's a Q. I put it in a Q." Buddy, like, I ain't putting this on my phone, man.
I'm not putting this on my phone, dog.
Another one. But I was
Let me get a burner phone first.
I was trying to convince my managers that this is where we're gonna be. This is
Right.
where, and it is now. And I can't be mad at the people that have taken that road. It's different than ours.
Right.
And stand-up has changed because of it. I see a lot of older comics that are upset and they're like, "This ain't real stand-up." Well, you don't get to make that decision.
You gotta respect the medium as it shifts and changes. And you used to always tell me that, Brandon, and you probably didn't realize it, but I was listening to you because you have to respect the medium that you're operating in and the time of day that it is. Some people do an hour-long TV show and wonder why it has to take 3 hours. But you got to deal with the medium that you're operating in. You used to tell me, "Yeah, Brad, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this," and you were right. So are you saying then that was like the birth or the evolution of streaming that we have now?
Yeah, I mean, it was. Actually, the birth of streaming was when Buddy was talking about when he did his show on the access cable, because the idea of access cable was reaching a particular market. Now we have a wider, broader band, but who we're going to reach and actually reach back on us, the slivers are a lot smaller. So we have to work harder to build on. We have to do what I call internal forewalling. Forewalling from back in the days when people used to like hire trucks to show that I'm going to be in this Vegas room, or they'd catch you and pass out flyers at the airport and all this stuff. George Wallace is very good at that. That's what that's where he made a great deal of his money in the last 15 years. But the thing is now is that you have bigger access. But here's the thing, the talent and the talent pool has been discounted. Now, it works well if you get famous enough and you say, "I'll get my people and I'll work the door. I'll pay you a piece, and I'll just buy the room out and I'll just, and I'll get the door." That's fine. That you'll do very well that way. The bigger problem comes in, of course, is if you have to rely on that comic club relationship, because the clubs have almost gotten rid of their promotional budgets. They don't. It's up to you now to promote. Right. Well, they kind of leave it up to you. And then if you get big enough, you got to run into Live Nation. If you get big enough, and what goes on there.
Well, I don't know. And the clubs also kind of collude in a sense that if you're an improv comic or you're a levity person or you're a funny bones person, they're going to keep using the same people over and over and over again. And it's hard to break in. And the only way you can really break in sometimes at some of these spots is you have to have an Instagram following that says, I'm worthy of you giving me a weekend at your club.
Yep.
And you have to have your Instagram and your Facebook and your numbers up, your social media numbers up.
Well, you can't knock that. I mean, because it's still bottom line, old school and new school, it's still about how many asses and eyeballs you can put in the seats.
That's true. That's so true.
Where the money is. I mean, there's no getting around that.
Yeah.
Right.
But they've shifted their, like when you came out, Brad, it was still, they had developed a name because the stand-up at that time had become the middleman secondary vehicle to other things. So of course, once Carson and them started to use the Comedy Store as their comic stand-up farm, it became the pipeline. And of course, now Mitzi was a gatekeeper. And so that was a different, you working there and people working there to get on stage and stuff. There was some level of light at the end of the tunnel, because producers would be in there doing their thing. It changed when Buddy and I came on the scene. Now it was more Black folks were developing their own platforms to do it there. And to the point that you guys were talking about the Comedy Act, sooner or later, Bud Freeman and Mitzi had representatives. And the other guy, Mark Linnell, went down and sat in the Comedy Act. That next week, their liquor license was challenged. And so and that's dirty pool, but that's the way they played. And so the thing is that when you look at the way the things shift in this particular situation, we're shifting more. It's much broader. You can go out and reach tens of thousands of people almost instantly, but that doesn't mean you don't get paid for it. The talent has been
well, it depends on how you work it, because there's some people out there that are really utilizing that popularity to an astronomical degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, those clubs also play dirty pool, because Bud Freeman, I was there tonight. I saw him come down to the Comedy Act Theater, and they were going to. There was talk of them franchising the Comedy Act Theater across the country like they did the Improvs. And that deal ended up falling through.
I never knew about that.
And yeah. And because Mike had club in Atlanta and Chicago. And Bud was, from what I understand, that Mike told me, and this is Friday, he said, man, Bud wanted to open clubs all over the country. He wanted to open urban clubs, but he wanted you do all the work, you book the comics and do it. And Mike's like, look, man, you know, you ain't gonna just take my name and make a club out of it. There has to be a deal, a better deal. And of course, I don't know what happened, but I know it fell through. But Bud Freeman was definitely interested in expanding the Comedy Act Theater and doing urban comedy.
So I would say exploiting,
that too.
colonizing.
Yeah.
And then what they did, as opposed to like having a club with urban comics, they became management. So Brillstein Gray, Russell Simmons, and Stan Lathan, they formed a company to manage comics after Def Jam.
Yes.
So now I don't really need a club. I got the talent. So I can book this talent anywhere if I become a manager. You know, so they got in business. They got into the business of managing comics.
They would only give black promoters a night.
Yeah,
so
a night.
Yeah, on Melrose, the Improv on Melrose, Monday night became. Then they would always give them the dead nights. Brad, y'all know what those are. You know, those are nights. They'd send half the staff home usually because you know most people and brothers would always build those nights up. There's a whole Guy T put a documentary together about
Tuesday night.
Yeah, Fat Tuesdays, which actually started with Joe. With what Buddy's talking about. I think Joe's management got him that room to make sure he was tight to host Def Jam. And then Guy took it over, and then Guy built it up, and then he went downstairs. They gave him a shitty night, and he made it. He had lines down the street. The same thing.
Man, that's what we always do, bro. We you know, and Quiley's is kept that Tuesday night kept the Comedy Store alive because it was the biggest night in Hollywood for almost 6 years. It was the biggest. Celebrities, everybody came to that night on Tuesday night. Same thing happened at the Laugh Factory. Chris Spencer and them started Chocolate Sundays. I had the Ha Ha Cafe. What I'm saying is they took over. Spike and them had Spike and originally it was Zoo Man and
I remember that.
Through different iterations at the Improv on Mondays. But that Monday night was so huge because that was the Def Jam Comic View. You could go see Comic View celebrity, these young celebrity comics per se. You could go see them on Monday night. It was huge. Huge. And so those nights, those urban nights sometimes would be the biggest night, especially the biggest draw and the biggest night for a club during that era, during that period.
That's why I've always appreciated what you guys did at the Ha Ha, because it allowed me. Brad, I was on a show with Brad that he had on Tom Joyner's radio show, It's Your World. And we would do It's Your World, and I was able to go a couple miles over. And you guys always showed me love about going up. It was a night, and it was a night in the show. And that guy he was a restaurant, and he had a catering business. I think he was smuggling weapons, but we wanted to get into that. And that show started with a banister, same thing. And then he had a banister.
I made him take the banister down and try to clean up the bathrooms.
So we had this. So wait a minute, let me just finish it. We had this.
Go ahead.
I couldn't on the Monday night, I was trying to get booked. And, I'm not fault the politics of comedy. It's just the way that is. I couldn't get booked on the Black night. So at the Improv, they had a comedy school next door. They had a comedy theater, the Improv Comedy Theater.
Yeah, I remember that. I went in there, but I knew of it. I was staying.
Yeah, and so I couldn't get on there.
We also had traffic school over there.
Yeah, the traffic school in the basement. So I couldn't get on there on that Monday night. So I booked it on a Monday night next door with my own money, and I brought my band, and I had another comic and a friend of mine, and I put on my one-man show right there. And the way we talked about it and what we did, I developed friendships, like you do in Hollywood, with a lot of assistants. So a lot of assistants to managers, to directors, to producers, and I invited them all to come through. All the people that had seen me in Buddy's room, I invited them to come through. They came through. They saw the show. Then they went back and got their bosses. And then they came the next week. And that was what put me on to situations where now I'm in play. Not because, but I had to go outside of even the old realm that we actually had. And the thing with Buddy starting up in the Valley, it wasn't like that was the easiest place for brothers to get to. Sometimes, and I have to say this, sometimes we felt better leaving the area, leaving, 120th and going out somewhere. I don't know why. Because that was when Buddy opened
around
up
the corner from his house, he was hey, that's in the neighborhood. I don't have the house.
Yeah. But it was the Wild West up there, though. It ain't NoHo. It wasn't NoHo then. Because remember, they were having bank robberies and shootouts.
Yeah, it was in the seedy part of NoHo. They changed NoHo around
Right.
After they gave away all that what do you call it? Not stimulus money, where they were putting money into the arts in certain areas of town.
Yeah, that's true. This day in comedy.
Busting in on you. I just wanted to get this out before we have to shut it down because we're getting a little late, but this is a book by Daryl Littleton called
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, R.I.P. And this is the part of the show where it is gone but not forgotten. And one of the people I want to remember is David Arnold.
Yeah.
David Arnold was funny, and he was with all you guys at the Laugh Factory, and he would come into the camera and say, man, this is why we do this comedy shit. Yeah. This right here. He just loved all the comedians, and they all loved him, man. And the next day, the man passed away.
Yeah.
But that's part of this comedy life. We fight for it. We live for it, and sometimes we die for it. Tell me about David Arnold.
I miss my friend a lot, man. Dave was one of those dudes, man, where he could, when he walked in, he came in with an air of sophistication when he came into the room for the game. You know what I mean? David was that dude, man. When you came in the room, you're like, ooh, David's here. It was one of them things, man. And David was a stand-up comedy connoisseur and scholar. And he would grind, before there was streaming where you could watch everything on demand. He would buy all the DVDs for a season of a show to watch it, for the beats, for the nuances. And as I watched his stand-up morph, man, from him being just like this, he's okay. David's very funny to being a monster. What I mean, he was a comedy monster. He was on his way to being revered like Robin Harris and Dave Chappelle. Go watch his stuff. His stuff is evergreen and his stuff will be funny 20 years from now.
I didn't hang out with Dave like Buddy. Whenever I saw him, I said, "You're the lost DeBarge. You're the one." You're the one that got it. And you're the one that followed. But he would be blank, but it was funny. He knew it was funny, but he would just be blank and he'd just look at me, and the fact that he'd stay there and look, because he could just say, "Oh man, you're just full of shit." And we could joke like that, and I never saw him negative. He always had ideas about things. And this is the thing about writers. He's a writer.
Right.
Always writing.
This is why we do comedy. This shit right here. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Where are you at? Chris. Get in front of all these niggas so I can say. All of them here. These are my friends. These are the people. This is why we do comedy. This shit right here. This shit right here. Right here.
Did he do TV writing as well, or just?
Yeah, he worked on The Real Husbands of Hollywood with me for one season. It was always on his game, bro.
It's always good to have other people to have perspective because you can't see yourself. I remember the one thing. This is a story about Buddy Lewis, and I had to tell. I'd say, and I don't give advice, but there's certain people that I will talk to and say, "Now, Buddy, you can't make if you don't tell on him. Buddy's what? He's 6'4",
3.5,
6'3.5" trimmer now." But there was a point where Buddy was kind of, are you the comic or are you bouncing the door? Which one is it? And he would tell jokes, Brad, that if you that big, you shouldn't be telling like
You tell them kind of jokes. I mean, buddy, you too large for that joke.
yeah, man.
Brad used to tell me that. He was like, "You too angry, bro.
You too big.
It's big. You big and angry.
So this is true. This is Hollywood. Buddy was writing for Chris Spencer. Chris Spencer had a show called Vibe that was through Quincy Jones, right? Mm-hmm. So they weren't using Buddy's jokes for some. They weren't. I don't know what's going on. It was conscious.
US and them opened that room across the street from the CBS studios.
Yes,
it was right,
yes. So I had gone down there, and I was invited, so it wasn't my usual shit of jumping the fence. So I go down there, and Buddy's like, "Let me, man. I'm gonna tell you something, man. These motherfuckers, man, Brandon, these motherfuckers." So he went, this is true shit. He went and he printed on the office printer. It was one office printer. He printed out all the jokes for that week. And he grabbed, I'm gonna show you, man. This is funny. This shit is funny. And we went across the street, and Buddy went on stage with these jokes. And I'm standing in the back of the room because it's packed. And he starts to tell these jokes that he had written for Chris Spencer, but he's angry. But I will give you this. You got off the stage and everybody was afraid and they made a way for you as you walked off. Ooh, this is true shit. I'm not lying to you about this shit. And the host went on, came and said, "Okay, let's bring it back." I think he brought on some jugglers or something. And so I think he was giving away, he was giving away gum cigarettes or some bullshit like that. So, but he got to the back of the room. He said, "I told you that was funny. Wasn't it funny?" I said, "Buddy, those are funny ass jokes. You were not funny. you were terrifying.
It ain't the jokes, it's you."
And then he looked at, I swear, he looked at me, "Motherfucker, I didn't write these for me. I wrote these for Chris."
Yeah.
I'm sorry I said that, but that's what you said. And he said, "I didn't write these for me. I didn't write these for I wrote these for that listen, but what you're seeing is a writer. See, that's the thing. Is we all have egos for different parts. And Buddy,
was he saying, well, Chris is the one that's supposed to make these jokes funny, not me. It's not my responsibility.
Listen. I did that for 3 or 4 weeks in a row, bro. I would go in there and I would tell the jokes that because none of my shit was making the packet.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I would go out, and bro, it wasn't really just for Chris. It was more for me. I was like, okay, is there something wrong with me? Like my shit's not funny. So I was like, let me go test this shit with some other people that's supposed to be our target audience for this fucking show. Right. So I went in there and I did the jokes that I had turned in to see if they were funny. I remember the first time I went in, I was pissed. I was like, man, fuck this, because I had just left a meeting, and this is what really happened why I was so angry, probably, because I had said to the other writers, the white boys and other writers, like, let's do what Jay Leno does down at the Hermosa Comedy Club. Let's go and let's work the jokes. Let's chop it up. Let's work it. And this white boy told me to my face, he went, "Hey man, Chris needs to learn to tell the jokes we write." I went, "Ooh." What the fuck? I said, "What the fuck you say?" I said, y'all not Chris. I said, y'all not even writing jokes for Chris.
Right.
I said, I know Chris. I know what he does. these jokes are not. Well, he needs to learn how to tell the jokes we write. I went, you know what? Fuck you. And I said, fuck you. Let me go see if the shit I'm writing is you. And that's why I remember that night I come over after having this meeting, kind of with the writing staff.
Right.
And I came in there and I was a little salty. And the head writer told me at one time, listen, man, when you talk to Chris, man, don't go buzzing in his ear telling him the jokes we write aren't good. Don't do that. I was like, man, and I told him this is why I didn't last long. I was fired. Chris got fired, let's say, on Thursday. 2 Thursdays before that, I got fired.
Okay.
And basically, the head writer told me, he's like, hey, man, don't be buzzing in Chris's ear. I said, listen, you didn't hire me. Chris hired me. I said, Chris hired me to write for him. And I said, if he asks me the truth about the shit y'all write, I'm going to tell him the truth. I said, I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. Or I'm sorry if that is not on the agenda for you, but I'm not going to lie to my friend. And I said, if you were my friend, I wouldn't lie to you. I said, so don't ask me to do it. If he reads some shit and I'm like, I'm not feeling it, I'm going to tell him the truth. So take it or leave it.
Yeah.
They left it.
Funny
No, we're
part
not
about
taking
that,
it and we're not leaving it. You're gone, buddy.
I want to know, did he prove that the jokes was funny? After you got up there, and was that your premise? Was that what you wanted to do? Prove that these jokes was funny regardless of anything else?
I tell you what, now, I don't recall me, like, I'm just being honest. I don't recall me going up there bombing, like, with these jokes. I was like, okay, that one didn't work. I know some of them didn't work, but for the most part, some people were like, oh, shit, that's funny. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, this shit, they didn't do it. This is the shit they ain't doing.
Okay.
I think they were laughing because they were scared. But
Whatever. They laughed.
I'm
He
gonna tell you,
is large.
I felt, and you knew this, buddy. I felt they did, and I'm gonna name drop because you know this, and Brad, I think you know this too. I actually talked to Quincy about that because we were developing a show for me, at least that's what it started out. And I said, I want your input on this. And he started telling me about Vibe. And the first thing is like, man, I brought the stops out for that motherfucker, man. I mean, I brought the president, man, and all this. And then when he laid out what he took the same people from Arsenio and put it on Chris, and they were just trying to redo that. And that was a mistake. Yeah. That was a mistake. Arsenio came from a different type of growth. The way he came out, the way it came up under Eddie's wing, his protection over at Paramount. That's how it went from Fox to Paramount. He took the show over. There were leftover shows that Joan Rivers had left over in her contract. They tried out a couple cats. Here come Arsenio, the first real black late night host. So it was a phenomenon. Everybody watched. And then Eddie Murphy's protection allowed him to go over there. He was able to get his crew and it was popping and whatever. That was different. That wasn't Chris. Chris was supposed to represent the new Jack. And instead they did Arsenio 2 with the same white exec producers. And that's what I think, especially the head writer and talking to you, it wasn't that he was outside of his, no, he was in his realm. Quincy, I believe, had set it up wrongly, in my opinion. Had set Chris up.
I guarantee you it was wrong. But that's a whole nother story. I mean, there were only 3 black writers in the room.
For what? For Chris's show? For Vibe?
And none of them were Chris's. I was the only Chris's fan. It was me, Angelique, Sully, and this other guy.
Sully McCullough,
and one other guy. And I can't remember his name. But all the rest of the guys were white. And none of them were like, none of those guys, like, the funny thing about it, I was like, none of these motherfuckers are funny on their own. I used to say, wait, I've never seen you do stand up. Like, so these dudes are writing that shit. And you're like, dude, that's funny to you. That ain't funny to our audience.
Look here, man.
You talking about Vibe?
Yeah, I'm talking about Vibe. Man, listen, they had fights at the Vibe Awards. You got to know who your audience is.
Right.
The Source Awards and the Vibe Awards had fights.
Yeah. Well, look here, man. There's been a hoot and a holler. I hate to bring it to a closing for this.
You don't tell us when we can stop.
Yeah, well, you're gonna find out on the editing room floor. Don't you worry. First of all, let me thank you guys for coming on. it's a joy for me to kick it with comics. One of the favorite things about being a comedian is watching you guys kick it off backstage and how y'all used to critique each other and help each other's joy. Well, you take that out and put this in, and just the idea, just a bunch of comics who we have one thing in common. We love comedy and we love kicking the game around. And so I really appreciate you coming out and kicking the game around on This Comedy Life. And you got to come back sometimes. We got to get the ladies in here too.
Yeah, hey, just let me know when I can come back. I always have fun.
Okay, well, good. You welcome anytime, B. Anytime.
Love you too, Brandon Bowlin. You talking about I was angry. Them jokes was funny as hell. I still got them all. I still got a whole stack of them.
Yeah, you're long on them. Yeah, nothing you can do with them.
I'm about to swing on me now.
Oh boy,
Brandon, you know what? You're the last person talking about violence in comedy. Okay, you're the.
I didn't say that. I'm just
you're the last person to bring it. You're the last. You are the. You are the last person.
Hey man, he bring up getting
fisticuffs in comedy.
You are right.
We admitted at the top of the show, getting hit think in an alley fight. And you gotta see him when he does it, because he was getting down and the guy pulled a thing. He hit him so hard in the head with this sink that it spun him around. And instead of trying to retaliate, he went straight to his car.
Went straight to my car and drove home.
Not lying on me.
There's nothing else to discuss in
I'm
your
through
fist
talking.
after that.
There's no more need for a conversation right now. I've been synced. This dude just got me in sync.
Let me get my key.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for being.
Hey man, just last parting words, man. I miss David Arnold, man, and I think he's going to go down in history as one of the greats. That was he was on the precipice of being a legend.
That hurt me so bad, and I didn't really know him personally. I met him, I talked to him. You know, we comics, we're gonna run into each other. But man, that just hurt my heart, man.
Yeah, I miss my friend.
Nothing in this business and his life is promised. And the things that you want to do, the love that we have doing is very real. A lot of people don't understand that. They don't understand it in our heads, but we don't need them to. The ones that do, the ones that get us, the ones that don't, that's fine. You just gotta keep moving.
You ain't gonna stop me from telling these jokes.
Yep.
That's it.